about this year.
Teachers and students talking about it getting punched and kicked. This is unacceptable. We wouldn't put up with it in any other workplace, and we can't put up with it here. So we've heard that if it's a good fit, then they have a pathway to become a permanent resident. And if they stay here long enough, they'll become a Canadian citizen.
And
that's
you're not talking about the job market at the retail.
I would say on the issue of the notwithstanding clause for having the teachers go back to work, that one again was an unusual use of the notwithstanding clause, but it should not have been unexpected. Peter Lougheed himself, when asked about it in the 80s, he said,
I want to ask you about separation.
In 3 months.
Somebody that's very
their own decisions, but when you've got kids being harmed, that becomes a point where politicians have to act.
Okay, let's pivot to the philosophical on some of these things, because people want to get to know their leader, and your approval ratings are going up. So you're doing something right. To that point, why do you, like most politicians that people come to know, they don't take on the tough things when they smell danger. And I'll give you some examples. Healthcare restructuring. A lot of people would have said, ooh, don't go near that. You said it's not working, we got to do it. The trans issues, you don't need to touch those. Yeah, but kids are in trouble. The pension, you might not get there, but you said we need to discuss it. So you sail right into these things that are controversial. Most don't. What drives you to do that?
Well, I've been a bit of a public policy nerd my whole life. I started looking at public policy in the 90s. And so there's a lot of things that I've thought about and written about and interviewed people about that I thought, gee, if I ever get a chance, I'd like to see if I could do something about that. And healthcare emerged very early on as one of those issues. And I know that I watched failed reform efforts year after year. Remember when Klein started thinking about reforms with the third way?
Yeah.
You know what he was worried about? He said that healthcare was 20% of our budget, and he was worried about it growing higher. Healthcare is now 45% of our budget.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder what would have happened if we'd put in some of the measures that we put in place today. And so that's one of the things that what we've looked at is what are the universal systems that are in Europe that work? And can we develop some of those practices to make sure that we're protecting universality so that no one ever has to pay out of pocket for medically recommended or necessary care, but those who opt on elective surgeries to pay out of pocket can. You know, the crazy thing that we were hearing, these wild stories about people being able to get care here, but only if they flew in a surgeon from some other province, or being able to get their surgeon to treat them, but only if they flew to a clinic in Toronto. You're thinking, what
do they work
how
around?
Is this is the crazy thing about our system, is that there were all of these ways in which people were trying to find a way around arbitrary rules that had been put into place. We're of the view, let's make it safe. We know we have excellent surgeons here, excellent facilities. Let's get people treated here. And if somebody wants to remove themselves from the queue, and that just allows for somebody else to get their treatment faster, we think that's going to help everybody. The way we'll monitor it is what we're saying to those who want to do what we're calling dual practice, is keep on doing the same surgeries for us, and don't reduce it, but if you have spare time or you can get an extra operating room time, that's when you can take on private patients. And we'll be very open about what those numbers look like in the new year. We've got a portal that is going to be released in the new year so people can track and see what the number of surgeries have been done historically, and we're going to keep on doing the same number.
You know what you just did to me?
What's that?
You pivoted. I asked you a question on what philosophically drives you.
And I went back to policy.
You went right back to
Can't
policy.
help it. I'm a policy, as I said, how did I start it? I'm a policy wonk, and let me give you another example.
But I would say, okay, then I would just say what I see is somebody that's very solutions oriented.
Yeah.
How do we fix it? And it's, Albertans want to see better healthcare, so good on you. A couple more, I know you've got some more interviews to do. I want to ask you about separation. And this could change literally from the time we do this to the time that it airs. You've got probably 1 in 3 or 1 in 4, maybe 5 Albertans that says, let's go. We've had it with Ottawa. You've got probably 1 in 3 Albertans that says, never,
Yeah.
not a chance, we love our country. You've got to govern for everybody.
Yeah.
And so you won't be leading charges either way. How do you deal with those discussions?
Well, I am am dismayed to see that because of the way we've been treated by Ottawa, the level of sentiment towards independence is as high as I've ever seen it. I've seen numbers ranging from 32% all the way up to 37%. That's a huge number of people who have given up hope on Canada. I haven't given up hope on Canada, and I think Canada can work. And so signing the MOU was one way that I demonstrated that we can find some area of common ground that has to be implemented, and I have to hold them to account. But it's not the only thing that people are frustrated by. People are frustrated that we run deficits here, and then Ottawa overtaxes us $26 billion and then spends money on equalization in only a handful of provinces, Quebec and Manitoba.
And yet Quebec doesn't have to claim its hydropower.
Completely, and neither does Manitoba. And so people are looking at that saying, you know what, maybe equalization around 1 to 3 cents a kilowatt hour. Trans Mountain optimized for the U.S. as well.
Hence, and it's emotional.
For some of these titles, we just said, well, we've got to take those out of the schools. That's not appropriate at all. We have to make sure we've got age-appropriate materials at all levels. And so we put through a change. It was misinterpreted, I think. We've clarified that. But medical bed that might also have housing, we're flipping that around, saying it's more of a housing type of problem with medical treatment. And it's a very different approach when you take it that way. Been waiting for too long. And part and parcel with that has been the work that Jason Nixon has